Hi everyone, we are Group 6. I'm Jingyue Wang.
I'm 诺丽。I'm Xinyan.
I'm Yingchen Guan.
We will made a timeline of 10 important stories in Spotify's history, and today we will be talking about why we choose these stories and the concept behind each one. Our website is also finished and is bringing all the stories together in a clear and simple way. Okay, here we go.
First, Spotify was founded in Sweden in 2006. Spotify's founding embodies the governance logic of neoliberalism, where market forces and technological innovation supplant state regulation. Against a backdrop of rampant pirates and lax government oversight, its founders leveraged P2P technology to enable legal audio distribution, established an ad-supported free service model, and enhance platform efficiency while expanding user choice. A quintessential strategy of the market governance the market. Next, in 2008, the company went live in Europe. Spotify's development trajectory exhibits the characteristics of decentralized dissemination within global media. Its streaming service originated not from traditional media hubs like Hollywood, but from Sweden, through technology-driven expansion and regional licensing agreements. It bypassed the fragmented global media model dominated by traditional record labels to achieve transnational dissemination. This model highlights emerging trends in the global media industry, a shift away from Western-centric dominance and the rise of multiple written flows. Next, in 2011, Spotify's philosophy of viewing music consumption as a social activity led to a partnership with Facebook. Spotify's collaboration with Facebook represents a new manifestation of cultural empires within digital platforms. The US-dominated social platform has integrated with the European music platform, embedding its social logic, aesthetic sensibilities, and platform rules into Spotify. This deepens the penetration and standardization of American social culture among global users, driving the reproduction and expansion of American cultural hegemony with global digital entertainment consumption. Thank you.
Okay, let's start with 2013 when Spotify launched its export-free mobile service. This was a major move towards commercialization. Instead of directly charging for music, Spotify turned our attention, our listening time, into a kind of currency. This so-called free middle, a model where users get a limited free experience in exchange for ads, encourages people to eventually pay for more freedom. It's a perfect example of neoliberal ideology, where the idea of freedom of choice is used to justify new forms of consumer control. So in a way, you are not just choosing music, you are choosing how to be marketed to. Then, in 2015, Spotify reached 75 million users worldwide. This was more than just a number. It marked a turning point in the globalization of digital music. Spotify playlists were no longer just filled with Western pop. They began to include K-pop, Latin pop, and other regional genres. This shift helped promote culture hybridity, giving global audience access to diverse sounds. It also changed traditional music flows that used to center around the US, helping create a more multi-entrant international culture of listening. Finally, in 2016, Spotify introduced Discover Weekly, a personalized playlist generated by algorithms. This invention reflected the concept of modernization through technology. Spotify wasn't just distributing music anymore. It was actively shaping what people listened to. Through virtual integration, Spotify became involved in every part of music experience, from data collection to music recommendation to user interaction. It blurred the lines between taste making, consumption, and identify. In short, Spotify became a cultural intermediary, not just showing us music, but dying what's wrong hearing. Thank you.
Okay, the seventh story I'd like to highlight is Spotify's direct listing in 2018. Unlike a traditional IPO, Spotify skipped investment bank underwriting and pricing, letting shareholders sell directly to the public. At first glance, this was a story of independence and disruption, but through a neoliberal lens, a system that believes market work better than public institutions. It was more than a clever financial move. It marked a shift in power. Authority that once sat with public institutions was redirected into the market and eventually into the hands of the platform. In other words, Spotify wasn't just selling shares, it was setting its own value and pulling culture products like music into financial logic to be priced, traded, and speculated on. This reveals the paradox of neoliberal discourse. Market freedom can hide something less democratic. Platforms taking control of value. This raises the question: when platforms set the rules of culture, who speak for the public? Now move to 2019. Spotify acquired Limited Medium and Anchor. On the surface, this looked like smart expansion, but through medium concentration and platforms integration, the meaning runs deeper. Gimlet famous for storytelling podcasts, reflecting horizontal integration, expanding across content, ample author of creation and distribution, shows the vertical integration by giving Spotify control over the entire production system. Together, this gives Spotify power over the entire podcast ecosystem, from production to recommendation. So it's not just a hosting, it's shaping what gets made, how it's circulated, and who gets heard. That also raises concern, less diversity, independent voice pushed aside. I choose this story not for growth itself, but because it shows how growth can maintain control and how integration quietly redefine creative freedom. Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to 2020. In 2020, Spotify signed an exclusive deal with John Regan, making his show only available on Spotify. After this, Spotify's advertising revenue in the third quarter increased by 9% year on year. Spotify makes profits through media commercialization. Podcasts have become professionalized and commercialized. Contents are not only cultural products but also used to attract users to download and subscribe. Spotify's entry into podcasting represents a strategical expression of its business and content. Regan's show has been leveraged as a core competitive advantage for Spotify, which can against Apple Music. Spotify's monetization logic is that normal users access content with advertisement, while paid subscribers do not. After moving to Spotify, John Regan no longer released full episodes platform like YouTube. Advertising revenue of Spotify has risen and the subscribers are effectively converted into revenue for the advertising and the subscription system. Now move to the 2025. And recently, Spotify have had over 500 million users. However, in this year, the Turkish government pointed out specific violations in Spotify playlists, and the government argues that this is offensive to local religions. Spotify attempt to establish American streaming cultures like dominant in Turkey and impose it upon Turkish culture, representing a form of cultural imperialism. Spotify have failed to engage local musical expression. Instead, it put American commercial and media broadcast in the Turkey market. The platform is accused because its algorithmic recommendation are global mainstream content, which is mainly American pop culture. By shaping capital and algorithm as the core, the platform dominates trends, potentially processing cultural diversity and establishing a form of modern digital cultural imperialism. And thank you for listening. This is our group presentation.